Hello everybody. So today we're going to be learning how to make sourdough bread. In the last video we learned how to make a sourdough starter, and I'm going to post a card right here for that video. It might be on this side, I don't really know, but so if you have not gotten your sourdough starter yet, check out that video. And once your sourdough starter is to the point that it begins to grow every single time that you feed it, we are good to bake with it. So for this video, all that we're going to need is some flour, some water, and some salt, and your sourdough starter. And the recipe that we're going to be using today is a lot simpler than most other ones that you find online. It's going to be a very basic bread, but it's still going to taste so much better than store-bought, and all your friends are going to love it. So I'm super excited to make this bread, so let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so for this recipe, we're going to be using 2 bowls, one smaller, one larger. And so go ahead and put the larger bowl on the scale and zero it out. And first, in that larger bowl, we're going to measure out 200 grams of sourdough starter. I've been feeding my starter quite a bit more, so it's a little bit thicker. I've been feeding it more flour. Like I said in the previous video, in my sourdough starter video, I actually like my sourdough starter to be a little bit thicker. It just makes it where you can scoop it easier and things like that. I poured a little bit too much, as you can see. By the way, all the audio in this clip got messed up, so I'm adding all of this in post-production. But to that, we're going to then add 285 milliliters of water, or 285 grams. And then we're going to take that bowl off, put another container, and we're going to measure out 10 grams of salt. All right, and so as you can see, I didn't quite scoop enough, so I'm adding some more. All right, fantastic. So we're going to add that to the larger bowl. And then after that, we're going to put the smaller bowl on the scale, once again, zeroing it out. And then we're going to add 500 grams of flour. You can either use all-purpose flour or bread flour, or if you like rye or any other type of flour, as long as it's more of a grain flour. And then we're going to add that flour into the larger bowl. Let's start the kneading process. So first, we're just going to mix it all together and create a dough. And once it begins to thicken up just a little bit, where it's not going to be really liquidy, you can go ahead and scoop it all out of the bowl and onto the countertop. And now is also a great time to mention the dough scraper or bench scraper on the bottom right of the screen. That is a lifesaver whenever, if you're planning on making lots of sourdough bread, I would definitely recommend getting one of those. But so we're just going to be kneading this for about 8 minutes, anywhere from really 5 to 10 minutes. Once you have done it a few times, you'll kind of realize the type of dough that you're going for. You really want it to be elasticy and soft, but then it will kind of spring back. So I'm going to go ahead and time lapse this, just due to the fact that this is a pretty long process. All right, so once you've been kneading it for quite a while, so then we're just going to get it and put it in a ball. We're going to get it looking real nice. We're going to put it in a bowl, and you can either cover it with a wet towel or saran wrap. I have a bunch of these metal bowls, so I always just cover mine with another bowl and set it on the counter. And we're going to let it rest for 3 hours. And after the 3 hours is up, you're going to see that it has risen quite a bit. So now we are just going to gently scoop it out of the bowl. I like to just kind of work my way around the edges while turning the bowl upside down, and it will normally fall out very nicely. And so now what we're going to do without kneading it, we want to make sure not to disrupt the gluten again, but we're going to put it in a ball and really get it tight again. And this is just going to tighten all those air bubbles and make sure that it's really condensed. And so you're just going to keep on doing that until you'll begin to notice that the surface of the dough begins to look really smooth. And so once it begins to look like that, we are ready for the next step. What we're gonna do is I'm gonna use a Pyrex dish. However, you can also use a proofing basket, but today we're gonna be using the Pyrex dish and a dish towel. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna put a nice layer of flour on the dish towel just to make sure that that dough ball will not stick to it. And then you're gonna put it in the Pyrex dish. You can also use a cast iron Dutch oven if you have one of those available. We're then gonna put flour on the dough just to add another sense of security that it will not be sticking to the towel. All right, and once you've got that, we're just gonna put it in the Pyrex dish, and once again, we're gonna let it rest for 3 hours. Before you begin this next step, make sure to preheat your oven to 450. And after 3 hours, you'll notice that it has risen quite a bit again. And so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna flip it onto the shorter one. And now is the fun part with bread. This is where you let your creativity shine. First, we gotta add flour just to make it look pretty once it gets done baking. So what we're gonna do, I use a straight edge razor, but you can grab a sharp knife or anything else. But then we're gonna grab the straight edge razor and we're gonna score the dough. I personally like this design. I think it looks really cool. And after that, now it's ready to stick in the oven. After 25 minutes of baking, you can remove the top part. The reason that we put the lid on there is just to trap in the moisture to make sure that the bread rises properly. Otherwise, the bread will look a little strange. But feel free to experiment. I've cooked bread before without doing the lid at all. And then after another 15 minutes, so a total of 40 minutes, it's ready to take out of the oven. And missing the camera shot completely on displaying it, but that's all right. And now you have to wait to let it cool. So this is a perfect time to have some B-roll. It is now the time that we have been waiting for. Let's see what the inside of this looks like. It looks like it has a beautiful crust. All right, here we go. Are you ready? Beautiful, beautiful crumb and a nice crispy crust. I don't know if you can hear that, but I am eager to have a slice of this. Wow, this is a beautiful loaf of bread. Thank y'all so much for watching the video. I hope you learned something. I had fun making sourdough bread. If you did learn something, if you could leave a like, that would be extremely helpful. And if you would also like to comment down below what your favorite way to have sourdough bread is. I like it just with butter or an avocado toast. And then also, if you will, subscribe, and that way then in the future, whenever I post more sourdough videos or more cooking videos, you will be the first to know. All right, thank you all very much. See y'all next time.